Hi, my beautiful ones. Sorry I didn't speak to you last night. I was just really tired. Working fully hour shifts can do that to a person. But that's just the way life works, I suppose. But, however, as I said in my last video, that was just an introduction. I can give you more information on me, such as information like I do have a bachelor's degree in psychology. However, psychology is very hard to break into unless you have a master's degree or higher. So right now I'm working as a cashier at a Walmart here in Glen Carbon where I live. I'm also looking into moving into my own apartment as I'm staying with friends right now. I know I talked to you about my Asian musicians, but I forgot to mention my American ones. Today I was feeling really nostalgic. I was in Walmart and I heard a song by a band, an American band, that I had forgotten that I had, Daughtry, led by their namesake, Chris Daughtry. My taste in music is just as diverse as my personality. I'll have moods where I'll listen to music like Skillet, the American Christian slash, I'm not really sure what you would call them, since they're a mix of both, Christian and non. I also listen to 3 Days Grace, Saliva, Stained, and 3 Seconds to Mars. I also listen to Breaking Benjamin. Like I said, my taste in music is just as diverse as the rest of me. When I have mood swings, it's not just about if I'm happy, if I'm sad. It's about what kind of music I want to listen to at the time. Generally, I listen to my pop music, my K-pop, a lot, pretty much on a daily. But today, with my nostalgia coming on, I felt like listening to Daughtry, because that one song by them made me want to listen to more. The one thing I always loved about Daughtry is a lot of their songs speak what's on my mind, much like Kim Jae-jung and Gact do. Daughtry's songs like 18 Years, which is about going back to a time when you were a kid growing up and how you lived in a small town, which I did, and how you had fun with your friends all the time and did some wild, crazy things. I also like the song September. Well, my birthday is in September, but also because it was talking about young love, a beautiful romance that ended back in that timetable whenever it was. Their song Going Home, when I was in the Navy, anytime I came home on leave, I would play that song in my headphones all the time because it was the truth. I was going home. I was going home to see my family and my friends. About every 6 months, I would take leave. During the summer, I'd go see my dad, and during the Christmas holidays, I'd go see my mother. Spend as much time as I can between them, because my father lives in Florida with my stepmother, and my mom lives in Jerseyville, my hometown, with her husband, my stepfather, and my younger brother, James. I didn't tell you that, but I do have 3 sisters and a brother. The youngest of them is 16. Her name is Katrina. My oldest sister has children, and they're the only nieces and nephew I have so far. Because my sister Jackie, who is extremely intelligent, works at a computer company up in Seattle and hasn't settled down yet. My brother, we're not sure if he's the marrying type, because he's never really dated anyone. It's not really his thing. Katrina, like I said, is only 16. She's too young for that stuff just yet. But from what I've heard, she wants to be a doctor, which I wholeheartedly support, because I don't think we've ever had a doctor in the family. We've had military. My great-grandfather, me, my dad. My stepmom was also Navy. My first stepfather, Lonnie, was a Marine. He raised me for 11 years from the time I was 5 years old till his death when I was 16. Half the person I turned out to be was because of him. And James, my brother, is his son, his only kid he ever had. He married a little late in life and had a kid a little late in life. But gave me a great brother, so hey, I'm all for it. And he raised me for 11 years, treated me like the daughter he never had. And like I said, a lot of what I am is because of him. He was a deer hunter, a Marine, and a 5-star mechanic, one of the best in his field. My dad is ex-Navy and now is a psychologist, PhD full done. And he works in Florida at a private facility for those of the upper class. My stepmom is an accountant at a resort in Florida. My mom and stepdad do not work as they both have disabilities that make it hard for them to work. So they live in town, help with my brother with his things. I grew up on country music. Yeah, I know. Most people don't really like country anymore, or country's become more pop than country. I mean, I still listen to some of the new stuff, but I do like the older stuff. Like 90s country is my favorite decade. I still listen to 80s music from bands like Poison and Sister Christian, which is by, I believe, I can't remember the name of the band now. I never can anymore. I'm too tired half the time to remember half the world things I say or do. That's me for you. But I also have my moods where I'll listen to American pop music. Not very often. Like I said, I prefer the 90s and early 2000s in that particular category. Yes, I was a total boy group freak. I adored the Backstreet Boys, New Kids on the Block. You know, I adored all the boy bands, which speaks for the fact that I like boy groups and K-pop too. I've always liked male voices better than females. For some reason, they've always spoken to me more. And that's just the way it goes. Breaking Benjamin, a lot of their songs are, yes, they're about death and love and having bad events happen in your life. But when you're in a dark mood, or when I'm in a dark mood, it's more suitable to my personality. I'll listen to it and I'll feel better. Just like with some of my music, like when I listen to Jay June or Daughtry or Eminem or my particular favorite, Bruno Mars. The song I love most by him is Versace on the Floor. It's one of my all-time favorite songs. I fell in love with it before it even came out as a video, because I heard it streaming on here, actually, on YouTube. So I'm a very diverse person, and music's not the only diversity I have. I also have friends of every race, creed, color, religion, gender, and opposite gender at any given time. My best friend is a male, and we have been best friends since we were 13 years old. So you're talking 22 years? He is the longest friend I have had, besides one other, my other best friend, whom is not around at the moment. He's busy elsewhere, Harry. I've known him since I was in pre-K. I have met so many different people over the course of time, especially in the military, because they're so full of diverse. Heck, we even had a first class in our squadron who was actually British. He was a British citizen as well as an American citizen. He had dual citizenship. It was actually pretty cool. And he was a pretty cool guy. You know, he had a good sense of humor, and he never was really one of those hard-on-you types. He was pretty cool about things. I mean, I've had my share of a whole lot of things. Like I went to Chile, Rio de Janeiro, during the only time I've ever been on a ship in my entire life. I got to hear Portuguese, which is a language I do not speak, but it's very close to Spanish. So sometimes, lucky for me, I had a friend of mine who was part Mexican, part Irish, and he spoke really good Spanish. So sometimes if I was with him and I couldn't understand something, he could sort of interpret through it, since Portuguese is kind of an off-road of Spanish. It was a pretty cool event. I got to see a 100-foot statue of Jesus. Back at that point in time, I was still Christian, and I thought it was pretty awesome. I mean, a 100-foot statue, come on. That's pretty sweet. Problem, I had to lay down on the ground to get a picture of the entire statue. And I did. I got one on my phone. But unfortunately, that picture got lost somewhere. I've been to some beautiful places, some not so pretty places. Germany, we only stopped there for a few hours between, I think it was Iraq and America. And it was right in the middle of winter. So, yeah, you step outside, you were freezing. I do mean freezing. It was like 10 below. It was so freaking cold. And then when we got to Iraq, it was cold there too, during the day and the night. But within a month's time, it began heating up and getting really warm, to the point to where within 2 months' time, we were running around in our T-shirts and not our overshirts because it was too hot for us. We were living in what looked like to be tin cans. I mean, you have seen those half oval shaped tin things that airplanes are housed in. They're hangars. Well, I lived in a miniature version of that, only it had a back and a front and a door and a window. It was about as big as this room that I'm in now, which by all standards was not very big. My roommate and I only had maybe 10 feet between my desk and her bed. So it was really tight fit. Iraq was not my favorite place. We always had to look out for camel spiders and all sorts of creepy things. Camel spiders, by the way, I would not consider an arachnid. Those things are more like scorpions. They get to be as big as your face. And I am not kidding, and I am not exaggerating. They get huge. I mean, they have 8 legs just like a normal spider, but they're like this big. The only time I ran into one was once when one of my first classes caught a baby in a bottle. He was only barely an inch big. So thankfully, we didn't run into the big ones. I had a friend of mine who was in Iraq before me, and he got chased by one of those things all the way to the cafeteria. That was an interesting story, and I really felt sorry for him. No one wants to be chased by a foot-long, large-looking spider thing. Yeah, I don't think anybody would. But I think the worst part of Iraq, besides the cold night, hot day, the sandstorms. I mean, literally, a wall of sand. It would be completely clear 1 minute, and then you see this huge wall of sand coming right for you. And I mean, right in your face. And for safety's sake, we would have to duck inside the closest building and shut all our hangars. Unfortunately, one of those sandstorms was bad enough that it got into all of our jets and our support equipment, and our squadron was down for a couple of weeks because all that sand had to be cleaned. They were probably the worst experience of Iraq. You would get a wall of sand 1 minute, 10 minutes later, 15, when the storm is done, it's completely clear again, as if it never happened. It was an interesting experience, if not one of my favorites. We also had a little tin can that was a grocery store. Well, convenience store would probably be a better word for it because how small it was. I mean, it carried all the, American necessities. But that was on our side of the base. There was another base on the opposite side of us that had all these little shops, restaurants, and stuff like that. Matter of fact, one of those restaurants was one of those stores was a perfume shop. And they sold perfume in the form of an oil and gave you these pretty little bottles. I still have the bottle, although all of the perfume got leaked out of it. It got spilled at one point in time. It was once gold-plated, covered in small little fake jewels. like I said, I still have it, but it's pretty much empty. I keep it mostly as a memento. I also still have at least one copy of each uniform and several badges and marks for my mark as a third-class petty officer, which was my rank in the Navy. I left it as an E4, but that's not unusual. You know, it took me 3 years just to get that far because the test was taken, I think it was twice a year, and you would have thousands of people taking that test. You had to get some of the highest grades just to be able to pass and overpass all the other people for rank. Not a fun time, but that's what you had to do. You didn't really have a choice. You had to take that test. Other places I visited were Italy. However, I cannot tell you why I was there. This was a secret special mission. But I can tell you, I did not go to any of the big cities like Rome or Venice. For those, you would have needed at least 4 Liberty Buddies and paperwork. A lot of paperwork just to be able to travel. Because we were an hour outside of Venice, but like 6 hours outside of Rome. So if you wanted to go to Rome, it had to basically be an overnight trip. So you would have enough time to, you know, visit the stores and everything while you're there, but also be able to get some rest before having to take another 6-hour ride back to where we were located. The base we were on was an Air Force base. It wasn't a Navy. And we met a few Air Force people. Although I pretty much stayed to myself. I only ventured out in the city every once in a while. And that's only if I was asked or if I wanted something different for dinner, because the gate led right into the city. So you could go right out the gate and go straight to whatever street took you to the closest restaurants. And believe me, some of the restaurants there had some really awesome food. Like pizzas, they put things on pizzas I had never seen on a pizza in my life. You know, things that you would not expect. I mean, America's starting to copy that with all these barbecue chicken, cheeseburger, pizza, all this stuff. Italy used to do the veggie pizzas too, only they used different veggies that I don't even know what they were, don't even remember for a matter of fact. So I've been to some interesting places. I've been to Brazil. That was also in, well, Rio de Janeiro is Brazil. And I was in Chile, Valparaiso, Chile. That's where we went. When we were only on board ship for 3 months, pretty much out of my entire 4-year career. And we would get 4 days Liberty, to where as long as we had at least 1 or 2 Liberty buddies with us, we could go out on the town and do whatever we wanted. And you know what sailors do when they go out on town. Get drunk, eat food, do whatever the heck makes them happy. I didn't really drink that much when I was in Chile. Didn't really want to. I wasn't much of a drinker at that point in time. But I did get to go to my first strip club, and I did get dragged into my first cat house. Yes, an actual prostitute house. Yeah, screw my luck. Most of my Liberty buddies, all my Liberty buddies at that time were guys, including one who was my boyfriend at the time. That was an interesting experience. But one of the prostitutes was really nice. She tried to talk to me about her daughter, but she spoke Portuguese and I couldn't understand her. But she showed me a picture, so I got what she was trying to say. She was also the one that bailed my boyfriend out when the other girls tried to lock him away from me. That was actually pretty funny. And then there's a couple of nights. There was this one night where we had a squall up out of sea so huge, literally, we could not leave the land. So they had us girls in an old gymnasium in city. They had the guys on the Liberty buses to sleep because that storm was so ugly and it was dangerous. At least 2 people lost their lives in that storm. They were all in the small Liberty boats. Our ship was too big to fit in fully into the port in Chile. So we had to use these little motorboats. And hi, Ashley, honey. Oh, sorry, one of my friends just chimed in. But yeah, we had these little motorboats that led between cities. Well, between our ship and the city. And two of them got caught in the storm, and one of the drivers literally lost his head. It was not a pretty event for any of us. We had another storm, but luckily we weren't on land at the time. We were in the middle of the ocean when it came up. Ours, you were literally walking on the bulkheads or walls, as you may not know sailor slang. But literally, our ship was listing so bad, we had to walk on the walls. And a lot of our ship was seasick, poor babies. But luckily, I started taking seasickness pills before I even got on the ship. Because for 2 years that I lived in Florida with my dad before my enlistment, I used to go to amusement parks with my good friend Jason Barucki, which I haven't spoken to him in a while, but last I knew he was happily married with a kid. So I'm very happy for him. Anyhow, for 2 years, we met at my interview at our, well, I should say, mutual interview at Orange Lake Country Club Resort, where he and I both interviewed for a job, pretty much in the member services department. And the day he met me, I needed a ride because the resort is so huge, you can't walk from the front of it to the middle of it. You literally have to take a car or a golf cart. So I asked him politely for a ride. I mean, a complete stranger at the time. I didn't even know the guy. But it also made me a great friendship. And he was a really sweet guy. You know, he was a couple years older than me. You know, he had heart troubles, but that didn't stop him. He is the one that got me over my fear of roller coasters. Yes, I was once terrified of roller coasters. And believe me, I had good reason. But when I started taking the motion sickness pills, because I've been car sick since I was a child, so I knew that I would get sick on any kind of ride, except for maybe the simplest. But the first roller coaster he ever got me on was the Hulk. 100 miles an hour, you're literally getting yanked from one side of your car to the next. I mean, literally. It was rough. I had bruises. But after that, you couldn't stop me. We rode the dueling dragons and just about any ride we decided we wanted. You see, where we worked has a partnership with Disney. Every month, we'd get like 3 or 4 passes to go into every Disney park once for free. So Jason and I would go to all the Disney parks, including Pleasure Island. But the only time we were there, it was pretty quiet and kind of boring, honestly. I mean, each of the bars each had a different theme to them. I think one of the ones we stopped in had a 1950s theme. Anyhow, it was kind of boring. He and I both had these really tall screwdrivers in one of those Disney plastic things. It's really sad when a little girl, 5'4", barely 130 pounds, can outdrink a guy that is over 6 foot tall and skinny as a rail. But I could. I outdrank Jason. And when he couldn't finish his drink, I did. If we weren't visiting Disney parks, we were doing hot tub hopping. I mean, literally, we would like sneak into hotels and just swim around their pools and their hot tubs just to chill out, you know? We weren't even members there. We weren't there for a room. We would just sneak in and just have some fun in the water. And no, I don't mean that kind of fun. Jason and I were just friends. We were never anything more than that. But we had fun joking around and teasing and just having a good old time. So like I said, even before I entered the Navy, I was in a lot of places. Let's see. Another place I went to 4 times while I was in the service was Las Vegas. Yes, people, the city of sin. And believe me, it was a lot of fun because we had to go there. I mean, the first time, couple of times we went there, we stayed in a little dinky hotel on the end of town. We didn't really go to a hotel on the strip, but we could travel to the strip if we wanted. We weren't far from it. The last two times we went, we literally got to stay in the Venetian Hotel. Yes, the second most expensive hotel in Vegas, the Venetian. And believe me, it was beautiful. I mean, everything was decked out in Italian Venice ideas, gold and cream colors, columns like you saw in old Rome. They even had their own little lake where you could ride a little gondola if you wanted to. I don't think I ever rode the gondola. I mean, it's cute, but it's kind of boring because all you're doing is riding around in a really big circle. So it wasn't really that interesting. But I did get to see one of my favorite plays of all time, Phantom of the Opera. Yes, I absolutely love Phantom of the Opera. It is one of my favorite stories. I have read the original story, the book, written by the original writer. I mean, yeah, it was translated into English since I can't read French. But it's just the story behind it was truly amazing. And the Phantom did exist. They never really caught him, though. Kind of like in the movie when he disappears. But he did exist once. So I got to see the Las Vegas presentation, which by all accounts is actually a little bit shorter than the original stage play of Phantom. They cut a lot of parts out for time because, it's Vegas. So the shows have to be shortened to fit the time schedule of everybody. But at the beginning of the play was absolutely awesome. At the beginning of the movie where they do the old auction scene years after the Phantom's disappearance, well, when it lit up to become back in the past, you literally saw all three pieces of the chandelier flying from three different parts in the ceiling all come together and pull up and light up. It was probably one of the most amazing things I'd ever seen. It was absolutely stunning. I got to see it a couple of times, once with my brother, Jason Basler, one of my Navy brothers. He was actually the first one to take me to see it. We also got to see another play. This one may not be for everybody. It's called Bite. It was a topless vampire show. And I do mean literally topless. The chicks are running around with their bosoms hanging out. The only reason I made the exception for this show was because I forced Jason, my sister Jill and I forced Jason to go see the Chippendales with us. Yes, the Chippendales. And that was also a pretty interesting show. Although you didn't see any naked girls or half-naked girls, but you did see half-naked guys and some fully naked. Like one of the ones they came out with, all they had was a sock in certain male parts. It was so interesting and it was hilarious. One, I had a favorite. He was multi-talented. He was a sexy dancer, and a good singer, and could play the guitar. I liked him because of how much talent he had. Shows you that I have a weakness for musicians. And I do. One of my exes is a musician. So, yeah. But I've seen some interesting things. Bite was only funny because of the topless part. But the storyline was kind of cheesy. The only reason, like I said, I saw it is because we forced him to go see Chippendales. So he kind of got back at us for that. But, hey, it was a good show. Cheesy in the storyline, but you got some really hot guys and some, pretty girls. I don't dig chicks. I'm completely straight. But the girls were all pretty. And they were all just full of life, dance moves, and every other scary thing. I'm joking. It wasn't scary at all. It was mostly hilarious. We also in the middle of the strip, there is a Pirates of the Caribbean show. It goes off at certain timings. I mean, the ship is awesome looking, with explosions and all that. But it was about a wardrobe. Clothes, literally. Like, I had to buy clothes here or this or that. It was all about saving clothing. It was the weirdest concept I'd ever seen. What can I say? Life is weird. And then also one of the casinos in Vegas had a zoo. A regular zoo and a pet zoo. I didn't manage to get to the petting zoo, but I got to the normal zoo. And I got to see my first white lion. Yes, literally, a white lion. I had never seen a white lion in my life. I didn't even know they existed. But apparently, albino lions exist. Another thing I got to see in Vegas was the Blue Man Group. And yes, that was pretty awesome. That was some swanky things. Their music was pretty awesome. I think the most disgusting part was when they pretended to throw up bananas. That really disgusted us. I didn't mind getting hit by paint. Didn't bother. But when they're pretending to throw up, that kind of, yeah, no. Not my thing, honey. Not my thing. It was an interesting life. And the room, guys, the Venetian bedrooms are totally awesome. You've got 2 queen-size beds or king-size, I'm not sure which, side by side on a raised podium. Then you got a small little living space with a TV, a couch, a coffee table. You had a standing shower, and then you had a bathtub deep enough you could sit in it and have water up to your neck. Something you don't get to see very often these days. But it was deep enough you could bury yourself all the way underwater from the neck down. I took advantage of that because I had some sore muscles from working all day and a few other things. But I put some really hot water in there. I sat down and I soaked. It felt awesome. It relieved all the pain my muscles were experiencing. But it was probably one of the most comfortable tubs I've ever seen. And like I said, a lot of the rooms are like the casino, painted in white and gold. So it was quite amazing. I mean, during this time, I was I think I was 28 at the time. No, 27. Yeah, 27. It was right before my 28th birthday. Which my 28th birthday was pretty awesome. We had a birthday/anniversary bash at a club I attended in Washington State called Lava. My friends and I used to frequent there all the time. That was our main hangout. And it was just awesome. I got to see a few of my friends, although there are a few people that weren't there that I wanted there, but hey, you gotta work, you gotta work, you gotta watch. There ain't nothing you can really do about it. Oh, and what I mean by watch is you would stand an 8-hour watch to watch airplanes in the hangar at the squadron or in the barracks. You would stay in the barracks to watch the barracks, clean them up, make sure no one's doing anything they shouldn't do, which, by the way, most people slid on that one. So, yeah, I've had a lot of different experiences in my life, full of unique people, unique events, pretty much the things a lot of people dream of but never do. And, if you want to join the military and you're still young enough, go ahead. If you're under 35 years old, you are under the age limit. I mean, I had someone in my boot camp who was in his 30s, too, actually. So if you're below 35 and you want to enlist in the military, go ahead and try. You will get the adventure of a lifetime. You'll get a lot of experiences you've never seen, a lot of places you've never seen. After I left, my squadron literally went everywhere. I was so jealous. They got to go to Japan and South Korea and Guam, the 3 places I wanted to go while I was in service. But sadly, I had left the squadron 2 or 3 years. And by that time, they were hopping through Guam, South Korea, and Japan. I was like, oh, you are so not cool. That's not fair. Those are places I wanted to go. And Guam, in case you don't know what it is an island but it is American territory. There's, I think, 1 or 2 Navy bases over there. My father was stationed there for a couple of years. He said it was a pretty interesting place. It even had live Komodo dragons, which, by the way, I would not advise going near one of them. They are mean and violent and can get very scary. But, yeah, so I got to see interesting places, and I missed out on a few interesting places. But maybe one of these days I'll be able to take a trip to Japan or South Korea by myself. Be able to experience stuff I never had the chance to. Who knows? After all, I do love music in both countries. Well, I also like music in Taiwan, too. Aaron Yan is my favorite Taiwanese singer/actor. I loved him in a lot of his dramas. Yes, I don't just listen to Asian musicians. I also watch their dramas. You know, Kim Hyun-jun, one of my all-time favorite musicians. He was part of a group called SS501. He's now on a solo career. As a matter of fact, I think all of them are. And he was in several dramas. And I loved almost pretty much every drama he was in. The first drama I ever saw him in was Boys Over Flowers, which is your typical teen love story. Rich guy falls in love with a poor girl. They're in an upper-class high school where she got in by luck or by help, and he and his crew pretty much ran the place because they were the richest boys in town. You see, that's what I like about Asian dramas. A lot of them focus on the romance, the love stories, not all this violence and crime and sex. I have nothing against the Marvel heroes, nothing against violence or crime shows. I mean, I watched NCIS and I watched Law and Order SVU. Those are my 2 favorite stories of all time. Well, my 2 favorite police series of all time. But a lot of the dramas focus more on the action in America, whereas the Asian ones, they focus more on the love story. Like I said, rich guy falls for poor girl. Let's see. Poor boy falls for rich girl. Let's see. Smart boy, over the top smart, falls in love with a very dumb girl. There was one story, a Taiwanese drama called Substitute Princess, where she was a duplicate to someone's fiance, but the fiance got into an accident. So the rich guy asked her, since she resembled his fiance, if she would pretend to be his fiance. He even paid her for it and got her plastic surgery to make her look like it. Because at the time when he met her, she had Coke bottle glasses, buck teeth, and freckles. So he had to make her resemble his fiance a little more. Like I said, Asian dramas focus more on the love stories. Yeah, they got their share of crime. Right now, one of their dramas going on by my favorite actor, Joon-gi. Yes, Lee Joon-gi, as in from Iljime, Scarlet Heart Rio, The Fourth Prince. Him. He plays a new drama called Lawless Lawyer. And I actually am not able to watch it right now because I don't have a Viki Pass to watch it. But I will watch it when I can. I always loved. I also watched You're All Surrounded, which was a Lee Seung-gi series. Let's see, who else? Oh yeah, A Korean Odyssey, a more recent one I watched. Also a Lee Seung-gi. And before you get confused, Lee Joon-gi is different than Lee Seung-gi. I know their names sound a lot alike, but they're 2 different men. Lee Seung-gi was in a series called You're All Surrounded, where he played a cop with a rather sad history. And in Korean Odyssey, he got to play one of my favorite mythological characters of all time, the Monkey King. Yes, he got to play Woo Yun. And he did a bang up job. He was completely awesome as the Monkey King. I also watched a Japanese movie written, produced, directed, and starred in by Gact Kamai, my J-Rock king, Moonchild. While it's a bit on the cheesy side, just a little bit, it's also kind of cute. In it, it's a story where he's a young kid on the streets, homeless, starving, trying to hold everything together. Well, he ends up meeting a vampire played by my other favorite J-Rock star, Hyde. Yes, Hyde, as in the lead singer of Larkenseal, another Japanese band that I happen to love. Yes, he was a vampire. This vampire raised the boy Sho. His name was Sho. Gak's name was Sho in the movie. And he raised him from a boy on the streets until he became a gang leader himself in later years. He was his father figure and watched over him. It was really cute, and I won't spoil it for you if you've never seen it and you want to. It's a good story, and I actually admired it. I also tried to watch Gak's series, Faru Kazan, I think it was. Furon Kazan, something like that. Unfortunately, it was a really bad copy, and I couldn't really see it clearly. It was kind of fuzzy. I also tried watching his mini-series, Time Spiral. Unfortunately, the app I was watching on cut the episodes out, leaving out half the information from the episodes. So I wasn't going to watch something if I couldn't understand all that was going on. I also saw the American movie Gact made, Bunraku, with, yes, darling Josh Hartnett. The one from, let's see, Halloween H2O, Faculty, let's see, what else was he in? Oh, Lord. He's been in a lot of different movies. 40 Days and 40 Nights. That one was a cute movie. Yes, I like rom-coms. I also like vampire stories. Vampires are my obsession. Been so since I was 13. The first time I ever watched the 1980s movie Buffy the Vampire Slayer with Luke Perry. That was the first time I was introduced to Buffy. And I started getting an obsession with vampires. And then when they came out with the series Buffy the Vampire Slayer, you better believe I was following that series all the way through, from season 1 to season 7. I still love that series. It's still one of my favorites. The romance between Angel and Buffy, oh, that is the ultimate love story. Everybody likes to say Romeo and Juliet is the ultimate love story. No, they killed themselves. Come on. I mean, I liked Romeo and Juliet somewhat until I started getting older and realizing how much of a child they both were. And no, not really that cool at all. But you see, they killed themselves to be with each other. Buffy and Angel separated. Angel walked away to protect Buffy. That is the ultimate love story to me. He is still alive and well, and he still loves her, but he can't be with her because he's afraid of hurting her. That, my friends, is the ultimate love story. Yes, I'm a total psycho for it, but you'll have to forgive me. I told you, I don't fit in any category with any woman. My attitude, my personality, my interests are all really different from anyone you'll ever meet. Being a unique queen, that's just who I am. And I can't help but love such strange things that people would not find very attractive. I mean, I can wear pretty summer clothes, but I also like to wear corsets and skulls and roses. I used to shop at Hot Topic and Spencer's all the time because they had the clothing that I liked. Heck, I even have a jacket that looks like Jack Skellington's from Nightmare Before Christmas. I got it for Halloween one year. Being unique is not a bad thing. I know you may find me strange, and most of you who are American and know what I'm talking about with the mentioning of the series and all that, you probably say, oh, she's immature, she's a bit of a little girl. Who isn't? At some point in time, we all have an inner child. In my case, it's an inner teenager. I like rom-coms. I love love stories. True love, that is what I want. I believe in soulmates, the plans of the universe, Mother Earth, Father Time. I believe in natural medicine. If I could heal myself with natural herbs and stuff like that, I would use it more often. Unfortunately, some of the things that are wrong with me, natural herbs can't really help with. But I really do love herbs. I like to read about herbology and different flowers and different scents. One of the things I dreamed about growing up was creating my own perfumes. I am an avid collector of perfume and body spray. I am obsessed with always smelling pretty. I don't do anything food. Gross. No way. And I don't do anything vanilla. Except if I buy something that smells like vanilla and I didn't realize it did. For the most part, I really don't like the scent of vanilla. It's not suited to my chemistry. You see, every human being has a certain chemistry that fits certain scents, like perfume smells. In my case, it's anything flowery, musky, slightly sweet, but not overly is fine. I mean, I like perfumes like Happy from Clinique or Alien, which is a newer one from a newer creator. There's two of them. One is really vanilla. The purple one, I don't like it. But there's a second one. That's the one I like. It has much less of a vanilla smell and more of a flower scent. Yeah, I'm very much for flowers and musks. I mean, I even wear Jovan White musk, at least I used to. Every person has a body chemistry suited to certain scents. And mine are suited to those. I'm not suited to smelling like a cinnamon bun or cotton candy or any of that yucky stuff. Other girls maybe, I'm just not. I love going to watch drag shows. Yes, drag shows. Matter of fact, my favorite bar to hang out in when I lived in Springfield during my university years was a gay bar called Station House. And I absolutely loved it. It was my favorite place to go. I would go there. I would see drag shows, drink with friends. One of my friends is a bouncer there and also a drag queen. I only got to see him once or twice in drag, but I tell you what, he's a very pretty drag queen. I also know a couple of the bartenders, and, you know, I was comfortable in that bar, more so than the club they had there. There's a major club in Springfield, too. I just didn't like going there. Because it always got, like, overly crowded, and there was too many people, and it just got scary. But Station House was, most of the time, pretty decent on people. I mean, we had a lot of the older gentlemen there that would drink. We'd get the younger ones, especially when there was a drag show or some special event going on. We would sit at the bar or sit out in the stage area, drink, sit at tables, watch the drag queens perform. Before that, the only other gay bar I'd been in was called Bubbies and Sissies in Alton, Illinois, which, by the way, is one of my favorite bars of all time, too. It was the first gay bar I ever went into. And it has a lead drag queen there named Tay-Tay, Taylor DeMornay. She is awesome. She has a great sense of humor, and she will keep you laughing the whole time. She's one of the best entertainers there. But you also have all the other ones like Olivia and Mariah and a few others I may not know or may not have mentioned because I can't always remember everybody. And the bartender there named Jason, who's a really good bartender. He used to, if I didn't give him a tip or at least 2 tips, he would give me crap about it and ask me why I didn't. That's how well he knew me. I love going in there. Like I said, most of my friends are trans, bi, or gay. And frankly, I love them anyway. It's funny how a straight girl can be more comfortable in gay bars than she can be in a straight bar or public bar that's for everybody, not just those of the gay design. I don't know. For some reason, I was always more comfortable in those bars. I mean, the University of Springfield, I hate cities. I grew up in a small town. I really hate cities. But Springfield, I actually do like it. I actually like that city. And I never really had any fears while there. I would go out in the town by myself and not be scared to. I mean, when I first got there, yeah, I was terrified. Luckily, I had my friend Jared in Springfield at the time, who used to, keep me company and go out to the bar with me and go out to dinner with me when we had the time and money. He was also my first subscriber on YouTube, which I'm very grateful for that. My other subscriber is Miss Ashley, who's another gacked freak like me, who's absolutely in love with the J-Rock King himself, and I don't blame her. I adore him too. He's like barely 10 years older than me, and he looks way better than I do. He's gorgeous. And I'll always say that. Just like Kim Jae-jung, my K-pop boy. He's my prince. He is my ultimate bias in K-pop. And I think he's probably one of the most beautiful men I've ever seen in my life. I have a weakness for pretty boys. And bad boys, but hey, that's life. It's a genetic inheritance. But I think you've probably heard quite enough tonight. I'll keep you informed over other videos and tell you more about myself. Tonight I shared with you a lot of my better stories. Maybe I'll create another video collage with a song and pictures. Remember I told you I went nostalgic? Well, I'm going to try to create another video. This one with childhood pictures of me and teen pictures. So, stay tuned. I have every intention of doing it if I can figure out which song to put with it. All right, my beautiful ones. I love you. Take care. And remember, always be yourself. Never be anyone else, and don't let anyone ever tell you who you are or tell you what to do. You are perfect the way you are. And if you don't see yourself as perfect, then change it. You're beautiful. I don't care if you are big, small, short, tall. It doesn't matter. You are beautiful. Remember that. And never let anyone tell you different. Bye, guys.